Good afternoon. This is Janet Prabanic, Chief Operating Officer with John Daniel Associates, and Patrick McCaffrey, Qlik Practice Lead for John Daniel Associates. Thank you for taking some time today to join us for a Qlik GeoAnalytics webinar presentation. Questions can be sent to Patrick today via the Q&A window, and we will be addressing all questions at the end of the webinar. I also have email addresses on the front page here. You're welcome to jot those down and email questions to us afterwards, should you think of them after the presentation. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to give you just a quick note about who we are. Patrick, as you can see, had the presentation at the end, not the beginning. But so GeoAnalytics is actually an acquisition made by Qlik last quarter. It was officially announced and was a company called IDEVIO out of Sweden. So a little bit about who John Daniel Associates is. We're a 20-year-old business analytics practice and help our customers with a strategy and execution of their business analytics objectives. We represent several technologies. You can see them there. Today we are indeed going to focus on Qlik, and we're going to focus only on the GeoAnalytics platform. We also help lots of our customers with custom applications, data warehousing, and .NET development for application integration, open API, that type of thing. So let's talk a little bit about GeoAnalytics and why it's even become important to an analytics platform. We have, as a culture, become a very visual business culture, and there's been exponential growth in the amount of where, quote unquote, related data. If we look across the slide, Internet of Things, mobile, geo-related data sets, et cetera, there's a location-related data. There is location-related data on just about every cell phone. Where is it now? Where was it? That type of thing. And coupled with that, there are a multitude of geo-related data sets. Lots of our customers ask us for, population by zip codes, in criminal defense, crime statistics by city for local police departments, that type of thing. For retail and commercial industry, locations of store in a given country or even county, and how might opening a new store affect existing stores, that type of thing. Tracking is rather obvious. Most of us live that every day. And routing as well, and this is one we're very familiar with in the logistics space when wanting to understand effectiveness of supply chains and routes and lanes associated with supply chains. And last but not least, for our healthcare friends, establishing practice centers based on population health. How far are healthcare recipients from a new opening of a practice as that relates to a major hospital facility. So just a few examples of how we're defining where data with Qlik GeoAnalytics. So we're going to talk a little bit about what does this really give us. This application is really about giving interactive mapping and gains that you would not see directly in just your QlikView or Qlik Sense application. Qlik GeoAnalytics really doesn't just give us comprehensive mapping capability. It moves beyond that visualization for a number of use cases. We can help reveal crucial geospatial information and expose hidden geographic relationships. And this is done by using the patented technology within GeoAnalytics and compressing the streams and mapping data both in Qlik Sense and QlikView. And customers now have the ability to gain better understanding by this data. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the kinds of maps that you're seeing on this slide. So we're talking about high-performance interactive mapping, very different than just a static map that shows up in many of our applications today. These are very robust and interactive usage. We can create on-the-fly location lookup capabilities to enable users to easily add rich interactive visualizations to their Qlik apps. And with an integral location library that contains literally millions of predefined places and areas, any map within a QlikView or a Qlik Sense application can be automatically populated and updated. So if we look at the maps kind of left to right here, we're looking at multiple layers of areas, charts, and bubbles. And an example of different visualizations in a drill down layer. So bubbles can be drilled down into, and the bubbles change to areas when you zoom in. And Patrick's going to show this on our demo here in just a few minutes. The central map there with the yellow dots and all the numbers is demonstrating a use of binning to condense thousands of points, similar to smart data compression. And last but not least, and this I mentioned a little earlier, is one that we're very familiar with as it's been deployed in a very large logistics company that we've deployed, route usage and route utilization, which is drawing lines between locations. And those lines can also have multiple definitions around, effectiveness of use, number of routes, that type of thing. So start to think about your business as you look at the geographics across your business, and perhaps if some of these examples might be applicable to giving you some additional insight via mapping. Continuing with some additional types of maps and some things for you to think about as we continue to look at how geospatial analytics can really give additional value to our businesses. It's really not just about a visual representation. This really is not just about the map that you're seeing. This is really allowing organizations to go pretty deep into map visualizations and understand and analyze those relationships. Very valuable, and what we are asked to do frequently is incorporate external geospatial data or map layers into visualizations. These can be things like weather data, even importing spatial information such as CAD files that you might have in your own internal organizations, adding a layer of ESRI data as an example. So if we look, go again left to right, adding some external traffic data, so data that can be either acquired free or potentially for a small fee, adding external traffic data, and then calculating congestion for a given city or segments of a city, specific intersections of a city, that type of thing. The second one there, when we're adding ESRI data to get some additional depth, and then some non-geo analysis to analyze police data by region or zip code. Perhaps calls are increasing in unexpected segments of a city or a district that gives us, again, better insights to what might be taking place of and cause for corrective policies or what have you. And last but not least, Patrick's favorite, the store catchment based on retail. So giving us, based on population and drive times, proximity to various locations based on that catchment display there. So as you think about your current Qlik deployment, QlikView or Qlik Sense, the acquisition of IDEVIO, which is now GeoAnalytics, really is giving a full spectrum of mapping and geospatial capabilities that can share a common set of tools and technologies to meet the needs of, a wide variety of location-related use cases. As customers, we can now, kind of look at the flexibility and implement either a hosted solution or a solution that's on premises. We're hearing lots of customers that are looking for, hosted solutions where the technology is not housed internally. But that being said, it can also be housed internally, or it can be a hybrid of both hosted and internally on-premise applications as well. So take a look at some of the business functions within your groups, and industries deployed currently include communications, consumer products, energy and utilities, financial services, banking, healthcare. We talked a little bit about population health, public sector, as we conveyed a little earlier with respect to police department data, and retail, as we just alluded to with the catchment data. Beyond that, as we look at business we also talked about transportation and logistics. But this also serves all business functions. It's really not just IT. It's inclusive of IT, but would also include sales, marketing, supply chain management, and even field service reps. We have deployed a solution where our customer was wanting to do some custom groupings of their sales territories to gain some additional insight to market penetration, and should indeed they be making adjustments within their business models. So that's something that can be considered as well. If you haven't yet downloaded the Dressner Location Intelligence Market Study, it is indeed on the Qlik website, and we would encourage you to do so. This is actually one of the first location intelligence studies. Howard Dressner is the former BI director for Gartner for 11 years now. He has been out on his own and has been one of the first to pick up location intelligence as part of his market study. And it's pretty clear and actually drastically ahead of its competitors. Qlik is winning in both their integration score and features. And again, the study is actually very comprehensive. Simply by giving your information to Qlik, and I'm sure they'll be happy to do some geospatial analysis on where you're coming in from. It is a really well done paper, and I would encourage you to take a look at that if you're interested in learning more about where this sits in the market. So that sets the stage for what we're going to address today. In case I didn't mention it in our intro, John Daniel Associates is located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we are the proud Pittsburgh Penguins Stanley Cup champions, and hopefully headed into second back-to-back championship. So we're going to have some fun with a story of the NHL Metropolitan Division. And I'm going to tease you just a little bit because this today is only the Metropolitan Division, but subsequent webinars will build out the entire NHL and also additional professional sporting teams. So it'll be kind of fun to see this application grow. So that being said, I'm going to turn this over to Patrick McCaffrey. Again, Patrick is our Qlik practice lead, and he'll go through an actual GeoAnalytics demo.
Thank you, Janet. So, as Janet mentioned, we started building out an application surrounding the Metropolitan Division team and player statistics. I just want to point out that we built this application in a matter of a few days, and we are going to have fun with it and kind of, in subsequent webinars, build upon it and add more to it and get into more of the GeoAnalytics feature set. They currently have a lot of different features that we're not going to address today because we just don't have enough time to. So this will be just the start of this, and we will encourage you as we continue to develop this to come back and continue to see the evolution of this application. We have a few pages. I'm currently in Qlik Sense. All of these features work in QlikView as well. So while we are viewing Qlik Sense, this is still relevant to QlikView. The first thing we're going to look at is just what they call an area layer. So in this area layer, we're just looking at player hometown density and by country. Now, one of the things I want to point out is in this, as Janet mentioned, there's millions of data points that are you don't need to know the latitude and longitude, which historically you did in some of the previous mapping iterations. In this, all we're using is the player city, state, and country, and it automatically knows exactly where they're at. And as we hover over, we can see for the Metropolitan Division, Canada, they have 111 players. U.S., 84 players. Over here in Russia, 12. And, all the way down the line. Now, as we're going through and we're clicking it, we're also utilizing drill down capability. And so now we're looking at it, the U.S. by state. Again, it's showing us number of players by state. And at the bottom, the chart has updated with it so that it shows us the list of the actual players, their jersey number, and where their hometown is and the team that they're playing with. And then we can go down one additional layer, and now a bubble chart popped up, and we're actually looking at the actual hometown location. So while this seems like a very simple little explanation, but in this we're using drill downs, and we're also looking at how it's updating the charts around it as well. And through that, if you're more interested in just one team, you can select on that team, and the map automatically updates with just that team's player count. In this, we're looking at a traditional heat map. The one thing I really want to point out here, and again, we're looking at player density by heat map, but whenever you're up at this height, right now, you can see that it's all concentrated in here, but it doesn't really give you much detailed information. Now, I'm just going to scroll with my scroll wheel on my mouse, and as I'm zooming in, you can see the heat map is automatically adjusting to get it a little bit more precise. Now, something that we're not showing here that GeoAnalytics has is something called spatial indexing. And what spatial indexing is as you're actually zooming in, it will make the selections down here so your charts automatically update with the scroll. We don't actually have that implemented in this round, but we plan on doing it in our second webinar. Now, heat maps are great. Heat maps work very well, and again, if you want to, you can just select a specific team, or you can select a goal bucket. So in this particular one for the Philadelphia Flyers, 31 to 40 goals, only Wayne Simmons was there. Or if we really want to look at the champ, Sidney Crosby is the only one in the 41 to 50. So that includes or discludes Ovechkin. Now, in this particular map, we're going to utilize what they refer to as a line layer. Now, you'll notice that there's nothing on this map right now, and that's by design. Whenever we were putting this together, if we put all of the lines for every player in the Metropolitan Division in here, it just got too busy, and there was no actionable data in there. So we put a condition in the calculation that said you had to select a team to actually display data. And so once I select a team, now you can see the hometown and the arena. So this is really what this has given us is it's showing us how far the player has to travel from its hometown to play for its team. What's fun about this is that it gives you very visually how far players are coming from and who has the most international across-the-sea players without really having to dig into the data so much. And so if we were to select on the Flyers, you can see that, or the New Jersey Devils, they only have 4 from overseas. Now, put yourselves in the position of an NHL executive. If you have a lot of players that are coming from Russia, for instance, you might want to put yourself in position of hiring a translator at that point in time. It just gives you some data points to look at without actually going through and looking at all the numbers. And it's easier to actionable data. And that's the point of this. And again, down below, we see the arena location, the hometown, the player name, and the jersey number, and the distance that they're traveling. Now, we're going to look at goals by country, and we're again looking at drill downs, and I want to kind of point out that as you're clicking on each one of these, it's updating the map for you. And you can look at a particular country, and it will show you the goals per that, and then you can click on that region, and it shows you the goals per the actual city, and Hearst, Ontario. And you can also, again, click on teams and see all the players and see exactly where they're from. And it's just giving you just some good data and just it's another view of using an area and bubble layer for a drill down. Now, something I would like to point out here is you'll see that we have two maps on here, and we're utilizing an area map again. But we're also using a chart map. Now, these chart maps, what we're showing here is salary by position. So in this one up here, we can see Canada has the most salary of all the teams in there. But we also have this pie chart that shows us the salary by position. So of this dark color of the $269 million, this is the breakdown between defense, center, left wing, right wing, and goalie. And below, you can see this is the actual individual player at their hometown location and their salary. And so as we click through this, you'll see that this map updated also. But I would like to point out that at this zoom level, this gets really busy. You're not really seeing much data. And so as we're zooming in, everything becomes a little bit clearer, and you're now at the actionable data. And you can click on it, the information, and at that point you can see for New York where all the individual players are and for what teams they play for and what their salary is. Janet mentioned that this is probably my favorite thing that GeoAnalytics can do. At first glance, we are looking at just arena locations. And it's really nothing special about it at this view. But as we're scrolling in, you can see we have some colors pointing up. And what this is doing is this is showing drive distance in minutes from the arena location. Now, whenever I looked at this the first time, I was really blown away. I never really considered how close the arenas are for the New Jersey Devils, New York Islanders, and New York Rangers. But whenever you look at it in this view, it really brings it out. And what's happening here is the red in here, the reddish-orange in here, that is 5-minute drive distance from the arena. Then you have 10 minutes, then you have 15 minutes, and then the blue is 20 minutes drive distance. What this allows you to see is basically which locations are encroaching upon the other location within a certain distance.
So I know we have some folks on our webinar today from PPG Industries, and some of the things that we've often thought about is for the paint stores we thought, a geoanalytic analysis, and this obviously can be applied to any retailer, but to give some visibility to if consideration is being given to opening a new store, are we indeed encroaching on sales from another store? And and indeed to what degree. There's a demo online and a case study of a bike shop in Sweden. It's a franchised bike shop that is considering opening new franchisees, and they're really trying to get some fact-based data around what that impact might be, and indeed what might that encroachment cost an existing franchise. And so, in the spirit of making good decisions with analytics, this just gives us, again, just one more visualization, very clear visualization on, some things to consider in making those kinds of decisions.
Right. And something else is, whenever you're looking at this, you might see a lot of colors, and if you wanted to focus in on just, say, 15 minutes, you can quickly make all the other ones disappear and not make them visible, and now you can see just 15-minute drive distance to each arena. And you can also see how where the intersections are happening, they're actually a little darker colors at that point as well. And then, I went a little quick. I apologize for that. But the last thing that we wanted to show you is this is primary viewership. Now, this data isn't completely accurate as far as what the primary viewership went. We kind of estimated. But what we're doing here is custom areas. We put in, through GeoAnalytics, you can give it a list of zip codes or a list of counties or other type of point data and create custom areas. Now, we have a client that creates custom areas for his sales representative, and from there we created those custom areas and put it on a map and then put in the actual sales point data. What that allowed that client to do is determine if their sales reps are neglecting certain portions of their sales area at a visual glance. And so what that allowed is you would maybe see a high concentration of sales points up here but nothing down here, and allowed them to quickly, which they did actively act on, split that sales area up to other sales managers that were utilizing their full region. And so there was incentive at that point in time for the sales reps to sell to their whole region and not just concentrate on where they're making enough. And what I would like to point out is down here we have it by county versus up here by customer area. And whenever I click on that custom area, it will narrow it down to just those counties below. So it's fully interactive in that. And you'll notice that all we had to do with this is we created a spreadsheet that just had all the county names and then assigned a county ID to it, which is 1. And then it just goes through the GeoAnalytics engine and creates basically the KML, the polygon file for you, and reads it in there for you.
Awesome.
So, again, apologies. I'm probably giving some time back, but at that point in time, do you guys have any questions? Please go ahead and enter them in at the bottom or to the right of your screen, and we'll answer them. Thank you. All right, we got a question here. The question is, can you describe the data load process for external data? With Qlik GeoAnalytics, it works the same way as far as bringing in external data as you are normally used to, where you can go in through the script. If you have some data files, you can load it in and bring it in, or if you wanted to bring in weather data or population data and start viewing things at a zip code level, you can bring that in through the Qlik data market as well. It all works scripting-wise the way that we've all grown accustomed to. You just have to know how to link it into your data, and then it will be available to use in the GeoAnalytics engine. Another question we just received was, with the drive distance, can there be other metrics used in that? I'm guessing that you're referring to, can it be in minutes, can it be in miles, can it be in hours? The answer to that is yes, that we can utilize other measurements there. It can be by car, it can be walking distance in minutes, it can be driving distance. There's a lot of different options there. That looks like we're not getting any further questions, so thank you again for your time. We look forward to continue doing this demo and building it out and adding more things like the binning and the spatial indexing to show that off and getting some more team data in there. Janet, would you like to add anything else?
No, again, thank you for joining us. As we said, our intent with this is to start at a high level. We know GeoAnalytics is a fairly new concept on the Qlik platform. We will be, for Pittsburgh users that are online today, we will be at the user group tomorrow if you have any questions. For those not in our region, please feel free to shoot over any questions to our email addresses that are there. We appreciate it. Join us for our next webinar and see how the application transforms. Thank you. Bye-bye.